Good morning, I'm Gretchen Hall. We're coming to you live this Thursday, the 17th day of July, bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Let's get to the stories that matter today. Signal number 1 is raced over northern Luzon as tropical depression Krising gains strength while moving westward. Krising is forecast to reach tropical storm category today and will continue to intensify further. The Senate Impeachment Court is expected to proceed with Vice President Sara Duterte's trial shortly after the State of the Nation address of President Bongbong Marcos. According to spokesperson attorney Reginald Tonggol, while no final date is set, the court may convene as early as July 29. President Bongbong Marcos prepares for his Washington meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump next week, where talks could address the recent 20% U.S. tariff hike on Philippine exports. Meanwhile, on the domestic front, a uniform 20% tax on interest income from all bank deposit products is now being implemented by Philippine banks. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first on the agenda. Tropical depression Krising has maintained its strength off the Bicol coast. Now, based on the monitoring of Pag-asa, Krising's center was last spotted some 535 kilometers east of Huban, Sorsogon. It has maximum sustained winds of 55 kilometers per hour near the center and gustiness of up to 70 kph. Krising is forecast to reach tropical storm category today and will continue to intensify further. Now, it may reach severe tropical storm category on Friday afternoon or evening before its approach to northern Luzon. Let's get the latest on tropical depression Krising. We have Pag-asa weather forecaster Glyza Escolar now on the line. Good morning to you, Glyza.
Good morning, Gretchen. And for the latest, in addition to what you have said earlier, the tropical depression Krising is expected to make landfall or move closely over the extreme northern Luzon by Saturday. And as of now, the weather over Bicol region, Eastern Visayas, Isabela, Aurora, Quezon, Dinagat Islands, and Surigao del Norte is due to tropical depression Krising. Western Visayas, Negros Island region, Palawan, and Occidental Mindoro will have occasional rains due to the southwest monsoon steered by the tropical depression Krising. Metro Manila, the rest of Central Luzon, rest of Calabarzon, rest of Mimaropa, Central Visayas, Zamboanga Peninsula, Northern Mindanao, rest of Caraga, La Union, and Pangasinan will have cloudy skies with scattered rains and thunderstorms due to habagat or southwest monsoon also. The rest of the country will have partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers or thunderstorm. As of now, signal number 1 or wind signal number 1 is in effect over Cagayan, including Babuyan Islands, Isabela, the northern portion of Aurora, Quirino, Kalinga, the eastern portion of Mountain Province, the eastern portion of Ifugao, the northeastern portion of Nueva Vizcaya, and Apayao. And that is the latest on the weather. This is Glyza Escolar reporting.
Glyza, when it comes to rainfall, gaano karaming ulan ang dala po nitong severe or rather tropical depression Krising?
Ina-expect po natin na magbibigay po ito ng 50 to 100 millimeter na ulan, enough para magkaroon po ng mga pagbaha dun po sa areas affected po ng trough ng bagyong Krising. And eventually, pag ito po ay dumaan o mag-move malapit po dito sa my northern Luzon area, expect po natin na yung Apayao, Cagayan at ito pong bahagi po ng Ilocos Norte, maging ang apektado po ng southwest monsoon, pwede pong mas mataas na sa 100 to 200 millimeter na ulan ang ibubuhos po ng bagyong Krising, pati po ang habagat na mapag-iibayo nito sa mga susunod na araw. So medyo marami-rami pong pagbaha ang inaasahan po natin in the next days, likely po by Friday and Saturday.
Sabi niyo po na this will be might exit by Saturday. But there's also a possibility that this may reach severe tropical storm status. Kailan po yun? Kung sakasakali, gaano kabilis pong pagtakbo nitong tropical depression?
Ina-expect po natin na maging severe tropical storm po ito by Saturday at hindi rin po natin inaalis na ito po ay maging typhoon category habang ito po ay papalabas ng Philippine Area of Responsibility.
And ano po yung area na yon na dapat maghanda para sa matinding pagbaha?
Ina-expect po natin na itong buong Luzon area, pati na po ang Western Visayas and then Eastern Visayas area, expect po natin for the coming days ay magkakaroon po ng mga significant rainfall enough po para magkaroon po ng mga pagbaha at pagguho ng lupa sa mga vulnerable area. So paghandaan po ng buong Luzon, Western Visayas and Eastern Visayas po ang pagdating po o paglapit po ng bagyong Krising, pati po ang pagpapaibayog po nito ng habagat.
Saan po ang landfall na inaasahan po natin sa takbo niya ngayon?
Ina-expect po natin for the current track ay dito po sa mainland Cagayan, pero pwede po yung mag-deviate towards Babuyan Island.
Pagdating naman po sa lakas ng hangin, how strong are the winds?
Yung malapit po sa sentro ng bagyo or nasa wind signal, in-expect po kasi natin na mag-raise po tayo ng either wind signal number 3 or number 4. Ito po ang pinakamataas na wind signal. In-expect po natin yan na magkakaroon po ng yung mga poste po ng kuryente, pati po poste po ng mga puno ay pwede pong matumba, that kind of intensity po. And then expect po natin na yung mga bubong ng mga bahay na hindi po stable ay maaari pong liparin, pero dangerous na po din yung paglabas ng mga tao with this wind signal number 3.
Okay, yung sa severe tropical storm status that you expect it to reach by Saturday, over what area do you expect this severe tropical storm to be?
Yes. Ina-expect natin, Ms. Gretchen, na ito ay i-release natin dito sa Batanes, dito sa may area ng Cagayan, Apayao, Abra, Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, and then dito po sa Isabela area. So, yung mga lugar na po yan, expected po natin na magkakaroon ng wind signal number 3 once na dito po sa extreme northern Luzon dumaan po ang bagyong Krising.
Kaya ho pala ang prediction po ninyo ay palabas na rin ng Sabado.
Yes po. Palabas po na Sabado, pero ina-expect po natin as early as Friday evening ay mararamdaman na po ng Northern Luzon yung wind signal number 3 intensity ng hangin. And then for Central Luzon and Southern Luzon area, makakaranas din po sila ng wind signal number 2 and number 1 intensity.
So magiging maulan po mula ngayon, mamayang gabi hanggang Saturday. Pag Sunday, okay na.
So, dito po sa Metro Manila, start po ng Friday and Saturday, pero tuloy-tuloy po yan hanggang Linggo. Magtutone down lang po yung mga pag-ulan by early next week, that is by Monday or Tuesday.
Because of the southwest monsoon also na hinahatak nitong Krising. Okay, ano po ang mensahe po ninyo para sa publiko bilang paghahanda?
Para po sa ating mga kababayan na maapekto po ng bagyong Krising, pati po ang mapag-iibayo natin nitong habagat, ay makinig lamang po sa mga anunsyo po ng pag-asa at yung katawang po natin ng media. At ito naman pong mga ating mga local government ay kung meron po silang abiso ay makinig po sa mga abiso po na ipapalabas po nila. Kung sakali pong may evacuation order po ay sumunod lamang po para naman po ito sa kaligtasan po ng nating lahat.
Kayo rin po ay aming katuwang sa pag-inform sa publiko tungkol sa mga dapat na paghandaan nilang kailangan gawin. Maraming salamat, Pag-asa Weather Forecaster Glyza Escolar, sa pagpapaliwanag and for breaking that down for us. Meanwhile, the Manila LGU and the MMDA opened a floodgate near the Manila Yacht Club to help ease flooding in the city. The gate connects to a 1-kilometer drainage system that directly channels excess rainwater into the Manila Bay. Now, the move is expected to benefit flood-prone areas of Ermita, particularly along Calao, Padre Faura, and Taft Avenue. Authorities said the sewage treatment plant in the area can no longer handle the large volume of rainfall, causing water to accumulate before discharge. A trash trap was also installed at a portion of Manila Bay to prevent garbage from clogging drainage systems. Officials noted the measure is temporary and stressed the need for more treatment facilities, continuous estero cleanup, and improved public discipline in waste disposal.
Maliwanag na kulang pa yung pasilidad na naitayo. Ano lang naman to, konting dagdag na pondo para mas marami pang tubo at makina na patuloy na maglilinis ng ating mga tubig o wastewater.
Flooding continues to threaten many parts of the country during the rainy season, and one tool helping communities prepare for floods and other hazards is UP's NOAA. Joining us to explain how it works, we have Dr. Alfredo Mahar Lagmay, Executive Director of the UP Resilience Institute and Project NOAA. Magandang umaga po sa inyo, Dr. Mahar. I think you're on mute, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, there you go. Magandang umaga.
Good morning, Gretchen.
Okay. Dr. Mahar, let's talk about first the general overview of the typhoons or tropical depressions coming in to the Philippine area of responsibility this year. As late as July, we are, I believe, on our third kasi C, no? So, krising, pangatlo. Ito po ba ay karaniwan na pattern po na na-track po ninyo na medyo mas late or medyo extraordinary po yung 2025?
Hindi naman, July na eh, di ba? Dito sa Metro Manila, lalo na pag ganito mga panahon, June, July, August, hanggang October, yan, di ba, maulan. Alam ko yan kasi since 2012, halos araw-araw naka-monitor ako eh. So, mga ganitong buwan, ganyan.
Oo. So, usually talaga yung pangatlong tropical storm, yung mga ganito pang window ng taon, July pa, during the rainy season.
Yeah, oo, okay. So marami pa tayong ini-expect kasi 'di ba pumapasok na bagyo dito sa Philippine Area of Responsibility, on average mga 20 yan. So marami pa tayong ini-expect sa Pilipinas in these remaining months.
So, mga 17 pa.
On average,
Okay.
hindi naman pare-pareho,
maganda po
pero
na
on
maghanda
average.
po talaga tayo na maigi. That's why we have you on the show. I mean, we've heard about Project NOAA time and time again, but I think it's worth repeating to the public about this project. What is the latest progress of Project NOAA, and what can it do for the public?
Yeah, basically we have all of or most of what we do presented in the website called NOAA, no? Formerly known as Project NOAA. It's really a program composed of 21 projects, but we called it Project NOAA because it sounds sexier than Program NOAA. To catch attention, para mapuntahan ng mga tao, mapansin ng mga tao. Kumbaga nagpapapansin kami para makita ng mga tao yung mga products that can save their lives.
And what information can we find in the website?
Ayan, yung mga information dito ay nandun yung mga baha, all of the detailed maps for hazards known as floods, landslides caused by rainfall or extreme rainfall, as well as storm surges. So, collectively, they are called as hydrometeorological hazards. Sa Tagalog ay ito yung mga panganib na dala ng mga masamang panahon katulad ng bagyo.
And is this real-time information? When we
Ayan.
access it,
Okay.
updated po siya up to the second and minute?
Yung mga information na hazard hindi prepared yon, they are prepared, but soon ibabalik namin yung dati namin na meron ng near real-time information. We might launch it siguro next week or next week. We're using sat data na merong calibration from ground data, and that will be near real-time.
Parang naapektuhan po yata yung signal po ninyo ng satellite. Okay.
Okay. Teka, sandali lang. Lilipat lang ako.
Okay, go ahead, go ahead. Okay, of course, we're talking about Project NOAA, where if you take a look at their website, you will be able to see the map of the Philippines and the specifics right around your street or your corner or your village or your subdivision. Makikita po ninyo yung mga buildings. It's very, very visual, actually, that helps us, I mean, as somebody who is not a scientist, seeing this already makes it clear to my mind how you are able to map the hazards in a certain area. Let's go back, circle back to the information that you have. So saan po nakukuha yung impormasyon sa ngayon at real time po ba yung data?
Ayan, Gretchen, yung information, ito ay nandun sa mga pinaggagawa namin ng mga hazard maps na nag-invest ang government noong 2012 for the construction or creation of high-resolution hazard maps for floods, landslides, and storm surges. And it's nationwide, by the way. Yung tungkol doon sa real time, ito ay pre-prepared, no? Na mga hazard maps based on historical data coming from Pag-asa. No? So pag nagmo-monitor ang Pag-asa, mayroon silang data na process yon, and then kung ano yung ulan na yon, may katumbas na baha or pwedeng mag-trigger ng landslide. And yun yung mga ginamit to prepare these hazard maps. But eventually, we will be bringing back yung mga data sets na bago na real time. No? We have satellites looking at the Philippines, looking at the weather, the amount of rainfall, and we will be displaying that in Project NOAA.
Okay, para lang siguro makita natin, no, ipapakita ko lang kasi nandito ako ngayon. No? So, we see the red portions, the yellow. Ano po yung ibig sabihin po niyan, ng mga kulay-kulay?
Yan yung hazard ng baha. Okay. Actually, pwede ako mag-present if you want. Nag-prepare kami ng share screen. If you want me to present it while I'm talking, that's also possible. Para hindi mo lang binabaliktad yung laptop
pwede
mo.
ba?
Okay lang ba, Gretchen?
Pwede ba? Subukan natin.
Sige. We tried it kanina eh. Okay. So,
Okay, go ahead.
i-share ko lang.
There you go.
And then, makikita natin yung ito, yan. Ang daming
Makikita
tab
po yung
na nakabukas.
messages nyo.
So, pag tinype mo yung, nakikita na ba, Gretchen?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Pag tinype mo yung noaa.up.edu.ph, yan ang lalabas na site. Ang tatambang sa'yo dito, may nakalagay, know your hazards. So, sa Tagalog, alamin ang mga panganib. Dadagdagan ko yan, know your hazards in your neighborhood. So, kumbaga, bago pa dumating yung panganib, dumating yung bagyo, nakita mo na dapat kung ano yung mga panganib sa iyong bahay, sa neighborhood mo, sa eskwelahan ni Junior, o kaya sa opisina ni Mister, no? Para alam mo kung sakaling nagbabala ang gobyerno na mag-ingat sa baha o landslide o storm surge, alam mo kung pwede kang tamaan o hindi. At alam mo kung saan ka pupunta. So, ito, kunyari, nandyan ako ngayon sa bahay kong yan. Ano? Pwede kong ilipat ito. Makikita mo na ang safe ng bahay ko, di ba?
Galing po pumili.
Little to none, landslide, little to none, storm surge. So, kumbaga wala akong panganib dyan. Pero, siyempre, hindi naman ang sarili ko lang ang tinitignan. No? Ang UP, hindi lang naman sarili namin ang tinitignan. Tinitignan din namin yung kapakanan ng ibang tao. So, piniprepare yung mga hazard maps para sa ibang lugar. Katulad dito, pag pumunta ako dito sa lugar na ito, kung may mga kapitbahay pala ako dito na nandun sa bahaing lugar. So, nakikita natin flood hazard level. Yung pula, ibig sabihin, mataas yung tubig. Yung orange ay siguro hanggang dibdib. Yung yellow ay mga mas mababa sa tuhod. Kung ang height ng Pilipino ay iba-iba, isipin nyo na lang yung sinabi ko sa height ni Manny Pacquiao. So siguro naman lahat kilala si Manny Pacquiao. 5'5" and a half siya according to the article which I read. Lagay mo ng 5'6". Maganda dito, hindi lang ito para sa Metro Manila, no? Hindi lang sa bahay ko. So halimbawa, pupunta ako ng Cagayan de Oro, pwede rin dyan makita sa Cagayan de Oro, lilipad ka na, pupunta ka na doon sa Cagayan de Oro, at makikita natin yung panganib ng baha doon, yung panganib ng landslide at saka panganib ng storm surge. Again, hindi ito real time, pre-prepared ito. So pwede mong gamitin ito kapag may sama ng panahon at nag-aagam-agam ka. Tatamaan ba ako ng baha? Tatamaan ba ako ng storm surge o landslide? Kung nakita mo, nandun ka sa pula, lumipat ka dito sa puti, pansamantala. Para alam mo na, ay maaari pala akong baha, iwas muna ako, doon muna ako sa kapitbahay ko o sa pinsan ko na makikita natin walang kulay, walang panganib. So nakasulat na rin dyan. Little to none sa landslides, sa floods, at saka sa storm surge.
Ano pong kulay pagdating naman po sa landslide at storm surge? Kasi yung flood, ito po nga nabanggit po ninyo, yung red, yellow, depends on the degree.
Ginawa naming pare-pareho ito para dun sa yung hazard level. Yung pula, yung doon ka talaga kabahan, Yung orange, kabahan ka din doon. Yung yellow, baka sakaling meron ka pang diyan, kung matibay yung bahay, mabuhay ka pa diyan. Pero ang pinakaligtas talaga dito ay yung mga puti, Yung wala kang nakikitang hazard. Sama-sama na 'yon, multi-hazard na 'yan. At makikita din natin dito, Gretchen, bukod dun sa hazard, ay nandyan yung mga buildings. Minapa namin yung lahat yan. May mga youth mapper volunteers who map all of those buildings.
Wow.
Nation, with AI in collaboration with Microsoft and Mapbox.
How difficult was that information gathering process for your team?
We've been working on it and we're still trying to improve it. We've started working on these products since the year 2012. So, it's been more than 10 years, 13 years na ang trabaho namin
Okay.
dito. And it's all here.
Matanong ko lang kasi sabi po ninyo updated po ito. Tama po ba?
Oo. Bali, yung marami dito, hindi na last year or last year. Napansin namin, yung mga malalaking pagbabago ay nandoon sa mga na-disaster na area. So yun, dapat ina-update yun. Pero nakita din namin na yung mga ginawa namin 10 years ago, pag nagkakaroon ng baha, yun pa rin. Yun pa rin. Katulad, for example, hahanap tayo dito ng isang lugar. Sabi ng MMDA, 49 flood-prone area. Sabi nila, doon sa Mandaluyong, may silo. May silo circle. So lalagay natin yung may silo circle sa saan ba yun? Mandaluyong, di ba? Ito, pupuntahan natin. Sabi ng MMDA, flood-prone area ito, one of the 49. Ayan, makikita natin. Totoo nga, flood-prone area siya. So, tignan din natin yung mga ibang sinasabi ng flood-prone area ng MMDA. Lahat yon lalabas dito.
Sa Espanya po?
Espanya? Sige, pwede natin puntahan. UST na lang siguro, Espanya. Espanya, saan ba yun? Espanya, Manila. Ang lumalabas ba dito? Manila Street, Malbar, Davao City ang lumalabas eh. Teka ayan. Espanya Boulevard. Ayun. Ayan. Makikita natin na hindi lang Espanya, Kasi yung tubig naman, hindi lang naman doon sa kali ng Espanya. Low-lying area talaga yung buong area na yan eh. So, lahat ng mga katabing mga maliliit na kali, doon sa Sampaloc, doon sa Tondo, ayan, binabaha talaga. And the level
Nagulat nga ako na hindi red. Bakit hindi red?
Kasi, hindi naman malagpas ulo eh. So, hanggang dibdib lang, tuhod, ganyan. So, kaya orange lang siya.
Pwede po bang makita naman ng sa may Dolomite Beach?
Dolomite Beach. Dami request kasi buong Pilipinas ito, ha? Pwede nating gawin ito.
Doon po yung tinitignan nila ngayon, di ba?
Siguro mga 20% ng Pilipinas, 10% ng Pilipinas ay walang flood map. Hindi namin natapos pero sinusubukan namin tapusin. Dolomite Beach.
Parang iba pong
Manila
beach.
Bay na lang siguro ito,
Manila Bay. Let's go to the Manila Bay.
Pero meron palang Dolomite Beach doon. Manila Bay Drive. Okay. Holmes. Manila Bay Walk. Ayan. Bay Walk. Tanggalin natin yung storm surge.
Wow.
Ayan. So,
okay.
doon sa
There you
Rojas Boulevard, merong baha. Ayan ang Rojas Boulevard, yung may yellow. So nakikita natin ang baha niyan mga below the knee, no? Although merong parts na may orange. Yung Dolomite Beach, yan ang US Embassy. Ito yung Dolomite Beach. Ayun, nakalagay pa pala. Manila Bay, Dolomite Beach. Wala siya sa baha na dulot ng ulan. Although, pag tinignan natin yung storm surge possibility, meron siyang possibility for storm surge.
Pero sa likod po niya, no, red po yung kulay. Ibig sabihin, yan, mataas po talagang hazard level dyan. Ibig sabihin, it could
Sa
go
storm
past...
surge, ha? Sa storm surge.
Okay.
Kung sakaling magkaroon ng storm surge. Hindi sinasabing ngayon may storm surge. Kung sakaling magka-storm surge, yan ang maaaring scenario.
Okay, how might local governments use this information to be able to improve drainage systems around the Metro Manila? Because lumalabas nga po sa mga hearing, wala po tayong centralized drainage system at kailangan po kausapin bawat LGU para dito. Have they reached out to your office and how do we build around all of these hazards?
Sige, bibigyan na lang ako ng example. We did the drainage master plan of Quezon City. Ayun, nakita namin, naglagay pa kami ng mga extra na mga scenario simulations with climate change and nakita namin kung gaano kataas yung baha, gaano kalawak yung baha. At hindi lang kami nakakita kung hindi yung LGU administration ng Quezon City, pati yung mga engineers, yung mga planners nila. And we provided several recommendations. The recommendations, among others, siguro yung pinaka dito visible ay yung paglagay ng mga detention basins sa ilalim ng mga basketball courts. Bawat barangay mayroong basketball court, di ba? So, ang mangyayari doon, sige, habang nagsasalita ako, papakita ko lang 'yon, So, ang mangyayari doon ay kapag umuulan ng malakas, yung tubig ay mapupunta muna doon sa detention basin. Tapos, i-release siya through pumping after the extreme rainfall. Ang mangyayari kung marami yung mga basketball courts na 'yon sa ilalim, so ibig sabihin, maraming hindi pupunta doon sa ilog. Kapag hindi masyadong marami yung tubig na nasa ilog, hindi siya lalagpas doon sa capacity niya. So hindi siya aapaw at mababawasan yung baha doon sa lugar. And we did that for Quezon City. Ang Quezon City ay banda rito, Ito yung Lamesa Dam. Nakikita ba yung kamay, Gretchen? Yung cursor. Ayan.
Yes,
Gretchen?
we can see. Yes.
Ayan. So, ayan yung Lamesa Dam, Makikita natin, parang sanga-sanga yung mga ilog, Ito yung Marikina River, itong makapal na ito. Tapos dito sa Quezon City, ayan ang Quezon City. Ito yung Quezon Circle. Ayan, tama ba? Ayan nga ba ang Quezon Circle? Teka, hindi yan ang Quezon Circle. Hinahanap ko yung Quezon Circle. Ang Quezon Circle ay nandito. Ayan. So, meron ding isa pang river. Ayan, itong San Juan River. Yung San Juan River na yan, ang pagkakapal-kapal. So,
because you were able to determine sa yung hazard
streams,
area.
Diba? Ang daming streams. Kapag umapaw yung ilog, yan yung normal na latag ng ilog, yung kapal ng ilog. Pero pagka merong malakas na ulan, mababaha siya. Ayun, ganon. So lahat ng mga buildings sa tabi ng mga ilog, yan yung mga sadyang binabaha. Pero meron din mga sadyang hindi binabaha, yung mga walang kulay. Ito mga to, So pwede natin i-3D ito kung gusto natin. I-3D ko para mas maintindihan. Pag walang malakas na ulan, ganyan lang yung ilog sa San Juan River, San Francisco River pala. Pag may baha o aapaw siya, matatapunan yung lahat ng mga lugar na yan na katabi ng ilog.
Okay. Doc, pwede po ba kayo makita muli?
Ayaw mo na itong mapa. Ako na.
Ito pong simulation na ginagawa po ninyo. Ito pong simulation na ginagawa po ninyo ay pwede rin gawin ito. I mean, like on the website, like parang what happens if the rivers overflow, kasi ibang mapa po yun yung blue.
Ibang mapa. Oh, yung mapang yon ay pang mas advanced users, no? Katulad
Okay.
kasi tinanong mo ako LGU. So kapag LGU mas gusto pa ng additional data, pumunta sila doon sa NOAA Studio. Meron naman tab doon, no? Para mas makikita nila yung iba. And nabanggit ko nga yung mga detention basins, pwedeng paglagyan, pero predetermined yon, ano? Hinahanap talaga kung saan most effective para hindi sayang yung pera. And Quezon City already started doing that. And ang mangyayari niyan kapag maraming nadidetain muna pansamantala yung tubig, hindi masyadong marami yung tubig na pupunta doon sa San Juan, sa Mandaluyong, sa Manila, na mas mababawasan natin yung baha. Hindi ko sinasabing mawawala siya totally kasi talaga ang dami nating mga ilog na umaapaw pag malakas ang ulan, pero mamimitigate natin yung ating problema.
Baka pwede po kayong kausapin din ng Manila LGU, no? Lalo na they are very much into this. Kasama na dyan, syempre, Malabon na Botas area na laging lubog sa tubig tuwing bumabaha.
Yeah.
It is information
Ang
that
Caloocan
we
ay
have already.
nakasunod na ang Caloocan. In fact, we're about to sign the MOU already. May maraming lumalapit. Actually, hindi lang sa Metro Manila na LGU, all the way to Batanes. Kahapon, merong mga taga-Occidental Mindoro, meron nanggagaling sa Mindanao, and mahina din yung kalaban eh. So, maliit lang kami. We're about 200 people. But we really need to expand this kasi I believe no, na ang daming mga uhaw sa impormasyon. Ang daming uhaw sa siyensya. Nagpupuntahan sila sa opisina, hindi na kami magkanda ugaga, Gretchen. Kadami ng mga pumupunta at humihingi ng tulong.
Kailangan naman po talaga ang datos bago magsimula sa kahit anong proyekto. And thank you so much for giving us eyesight and in the capacity to see things from above. We have Dr. Alfredo Mahar Lagmay talking to us about Project NOAA and detailing how we can use that platform to help prevent disaster. We have the Executive Director of the UP Resilience Institute and Project NOAA. Maraming salamat po, Doctor.
Maraming salamat, Gretchen. Thanks for inviting. Good morning.
Coming up, a 20% U.S. tariff hike and a new 20% tax on your bank savings. What do these mean for your wallet? Economist JC Punongbayan breaks it all down for us when we return. Don't go away. Morning Matters. We'll be back after a quick break. Good morning, I'm Gretchen Noon here on Morning Matters. We talk about the most pressing issues and give you the context behind the headlines. Philippine banks have started implementing a uniform 20% tax on interest income from all deposit products. This comes following the effectivity of the Capital Markets Efficiency Promotion Act, or CIMEPA, on July 1. Previously, tax-exempt long-term peso deposits and foreign currency accounts are now covered by the final withholding tax. Major banks say the reform promotes fairness and aligns with the country's financial system with global standards. Meanwhile, President Bongbong Marcos is set to meet U.S. President Donald Trump in Washington next week, where the recent 20% U.S. tariff hikes on Philippine exports is expected to be a key issue. To provide insights into these matters, we are now joined by J.C. Punong Bayan, Assistant Professor at the UP School of Economics. Good morning. Welcome back to Morning Matters.
Thank you very much, Gretchen, for having me.
Okay, JC, this went viral yesterday. I was seeing it all over my feed. Of course, people asking, what does this mean to their time deposits, to their savings? Ano bang ibig sabihin nung 20% uniform tax on interest income?
Yes, so before, the interest or the tax on interest earned from time deposits, for example, there was a graduated rate. So, for example, before, there was no tax on interest on time deposit, for example, lasting more than 5 years, for example. But I think they did a uniform rate already. And this is supposed to simplify the way by which interest earnings can be taxed. However, this is also quite concerning for economies. So even if the law is well-intentioned, there's concern that maybe this could actually discourage people from investing in long-term deposits, time deposits, for example, those lasting more than 5 years. And already the market of the Philippines, the capital market of the Philippines is not so deep, and there's a lot of room to deepen it further to promote investments. But some economists fear that maybe this is going in the opposite direction.
Oh. Tinext ko nga yung kausap ko sa bangko, tinatanong ko, how does this affect my long-term deposit, 5 years. Sabi niya, ma'am, pareho lang naman, 20% naman na for all. Matagal na. Parang this just makes it standardized. But you're right, this might discourage investing in long-term products, especially also that on the flip side, you could put your money in big risk online gaming or gambling apps, right? I mean, pwede kang tumaya doon at mananalo ka, and that provides a bigger reward as opposed to this. What could have been the goal of the government here in making this uniform?
Well, the overarching context, Gretchen, would be the fact that the government remains in a desperate need for extra revenues. Because when you look at the latest statistics, the budget deficit of the government amounts to about 1.5 trillion pesos every year in recent years. So that means that the government is spending 1.5 trillion pesos more than it is earning by way of tax revenues, for example, non-tax revenues. So the goal is, I think, so this is, I think, one of the low-hanging fruits, in other words. So remember that recently, or last year, the Marcos administration also imposed a tax on digital services. For example, our subscriptions on Netflix, YouTube, Google, etc. So that's one of the also low-hanging fruits that they were aiming at, so that they can shore up the government's revenues. And I think this policy on harmonizing the tax on interest earnings is also in the same vein.
They have framed this move as moving towards fairness and global alignment. Do you agree with that kind of framing? Because one thing that they mentioned was they want investors to come in, reduce investor costs, harmonizing tax policies with global practices.
Well, I think the jury is still out on that, Gretchen. But as I mentioned already, there's not so many Filipinos who are investing in the first place or buying, for example, government securities or other financial instruments. So I think there's a lot of room to promote further people so that they can save more to the extent that they can. But I think, especially for people who want to deposit, for example, their long-term earnings, for example, people who are closer to retirement age, who are looking to earn a bit of money from their long-term investments, So I think this is a bigger concern for them. And in fact, I have also seen a number of friends who have been complaining on social media, those who are already retired and are relying on some of their interest earnings for their everyday living. This will definitely affect them a lot.
Pero JC, ang pinakamatatamaan dito yung mga nag-save nag-deposit ng 5 years and longer because yun yung
Correct.
previously tax exempt. But if you are 5 years below, you are still facing the same kind of withholding tax, right?
Exactly. So this is a bigger concern for those who are looking to invest more for the long term rather than the short term. But I think you will notice that in previous tax reform efforts, even starting during the Duterte administration, for example, the personal income tax rate, before there was also a different bracketing for that, and they tried to kind of even out the tax rates across the different income brackets. I think you will notice that these kinds of tax reforms are rather similar in that respect, in that they want as much as possible to harmonize or even out the interest rates across different brackets or different categories of taxable income, for example. So yeah, so that's a common feature of tax reform measures. But again, it goes back to the fact that we need to deepen capital markets and financial markets in the Philippines. They're so very thin compared to those that you find in other ASEAN economies, for example.
What could be a better tax reform structure here to be able to encourage investors to come in and to be able to make it a little bit more progressive? I mean, how do you see that this could have been done better apart from taking advantage of low-hanging fruits?
Well, another way by which the government can raise more money is to simplify the administration of taxes and, for example, remove administrative barriers when it comes to collecting taxes. And to be fair, the Marcos administration, President Marcos also signed the Ease of Paying Taxes Act. I think they were trying to simplify the way that various taxes are administered and collected by the BRR and other agencies. So there have been some other efforts. But of course, when you go to the route of administrative reforms, that's a bit more difficult compared to collecting taxes that people can't really escape from paying. For example, when it comes to the digital services, that's automatically taxed. And before that, consumption taxes, the value-added tax, and then the tax on digital services. So one of the principles of a tax system is that the taxes should be as transparent as possible, and from the perspective of the government, it should be easily administered and collected. So I think you will expect that in the future, the government will be imposing first those low-hanging fruits rather than the more difficult ways by which they can improve tax collection.
And then if we see where the taxes are going, it would be easier to collect those taxes, right? But apart from the interest tax or income interest tax, meron din dito no mga binawasan nila katulad ng stock transaction tax, capital gains tax, documentary stamp tax aimed at actually improving movement in the capital market transactions. What opportunities for growth do you see? I mean, with our economy at this point, with the global trade war, tariff war, what opportunities do you see in terms of pushing this forward?
Yes, so those other things that you mentioned, Gretchen, they're actually laudable. So I think the most objectionable part of the new policy would be the tax on interest earnings for long-term deposits. But otherwise, the law seems to be quite sound. But having said that, the overarching context in these days, especially with the lower growth forecasts globally, as well as the uncertainty introduced by Donald Trump with these tariffs, there's a thick cloud of uncertainty that hangs not just on the US, but also the rest of the world, including the Philippines. So I guess this will continue to inform the investment decisions of Filipinos. Many have been frustrated that the stock market, for example, the stock market index has been sideways for a couple of years now. And that boils down to uncertainties about what are the next growth drivers in the Philippine economy. What should we be excited about? And fortunately, we're still trying to identify those potential growth drivers. There could be a lot of those potential growth drivers, including in tourism, for example, manufacturing. But I guess we can improve or boost consumer and investment confidence if there are reforms, including reducing the cost of doing business in the Philippines, the usual things, reducing the cost of power, harmonizing the tax or fixing the tax system. And we have been talking about tax reform measures in recent years, and many, many other things that we should do. We should do our homework so that there could be a better business climate in the Philippines, and there's more incentives for people to invest in financial markets like the stock market, the bond market, etc.
And of course, we remain on the lookout for where we should invest our money long term, especially with the impact of the new CIMEPA Act. But we are also holding our breath here over the tariffs that the U.S. Has announced on the Philippines, about 20% standing currently. It is a plus 3% from the number announced back in April at 17%. What is your read into this? I mean, if you take a look at Southeast Asia, tayo pa rin yung isa sa mga pinakamababa. Kahapon lang or the other day, Indonesia was able to negotiate a 19% tariff rate with the United States. Tayo, we remain at 20%. But of course, our officials are set to meet with the U.S. administration on this. Do you think that we are in a relatively favorable position, I mean, to take advantage of this, or talagang may maapektuhan?
Well, first of all, there's nothing reciprocal about the tariffs that Trump has imposed on us. For example, before all of this, we are also imposing a minimal tax on things that we import from the US, and the average is, I think, about 6% only. But Trump is so-called retaliating with a 20% tariff, which is much larger than the 6% tax that we impose on imports from them. So hindi balance, in other words. And you will see that in other countries as well, like in Brazil. The US actually has a trade surplus with respect to Brazil, but still Trump wants to impose a 50% tariff on imports from Brazil. And he's politicizing this. He says that Brazil should stop investigations when it comes to former President Bolsonaro, who is a friend of Trump. Trump is really politicizing this. This has nothing to do with the actual rate of protectionist policies imposed by other countries on the U.S. But having said that, what is in it for the Philippines? There are pros and cons to this. On the one hand, there could be some benefit in the sense that investors will want to look for or invest and pour their money into other countries other than those which received very high tariffs from Trump. So, for example, investments from in China and Vietnam, maybe some of them will want to look for other places, including the Philippines, where they could put their money. But on the other hand, that goes back to the central question of how attractive are we as an investment destination? Why, in the first place, have Samsung and Apple and other big multinational companies located in Vietnam rather than in the Philippines? We should be soul searching and fixing what's wrong with the Philippine business climate. And I'm worried more, Gretchen, about the implications of this on global growth. Multilateral agencies have already reduced their forecasts for global growth. And inflation is also starting to pick up in the US, and maybe global inflation will also start to pick up. So essentially, Trump is ruining what could otherwise be a good and sound global economic environment because of his economic illiteracy and misreading of what tariffs are in the first place.
Well, it seems he is pushing for a manufacturing renaissance, no? Parang pag tinignan mo yung mga goods that he is imposing high import taxes on, copper is at 50%. Aluminum and steel are also at 50%. He is trying to establish those industries in the United States. I guess the question is it working? I mean, anong basa mo doon? Ano kaya maaaring mangyari? Will the U.S. eventually hit the wall here? Or will they be able to shift the market enough to change things and to be able to curry things in their favor?
Well, I think Trump is hankering for a so-called golden age of U.S. manufacturing. What drove the growth, tremendous growth of the U.S. In past centuries, for example, during the Industrial Revolution. I think Trump wants to revive some of that. However, in the 21st century, the U.S. actually should capitalize on its robust service sector. And when in fact, when it comes to the service sector, the U.S. actually enjoys a tremendous trade surplus. So in other words, it exports, is able to export more than it is importing by way of services. So in the 21st century, trade is no longer, well, of course, there's still a huge role for goods, trade in goods, but trade in services is an increasing share of global growth, and the U.S. actually enjoys a surplus in that. And I think they should capitalize on promoting their exports of services because the world benefits tremendously from it, and also the U.S. earns a lot from it. I don't think, and many economists believe that the tariffs alone will not actually revive the manufacturing jobs that Trump hopes to revive. And until there's a lot more certainty about the tariffs, investors will actually want to put off their or hold onto their money and put off their investments until there's greater clarity on where this is going where this is going.
Yes. Until there's a little bit more stability in the market. And I guess it remains to be seen whether the Philippine government can negotiate the 20% down. The U.S. is, of course, the number one partner of the Philippines in terms of export value. So we will be on the lookout for that. Maraming salamat sa iyo for explaining things to us and breaking it down. We have JC Punong Bayan, Assistant Professor at the UP School of Economics.
Thank you, Gretchen.
When we return, Senate Impeachment Court spokesperson attorney Reginald Tongol confirmed the trial of Vice President Sara Duterte is expected to advance soon after the SONA. He stated that the Senate could potentially convene for the trial as early as July 29, although a final date is still pending. And in the ongoing search for the missing Sabongeros, Justice Secretary Boying Remulla has ordered 3 unclaimed bodies in Batangas be exhumed. The remains will undergo DNA testing to check for a possible match. Don't go away. More matters to discuss right after a short break. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The Senate Impeachment Court is expected to push forward with the trial of Vice President Sara Duterte shortly after the State of the Nation address. Here is the report.
Some senators are pushing to convene the impeachment court a week after President Bongbong Marcos's fourth State of the Nation address. Senator Joel Villanueva bared that there are already informal discussions to convene as an impeachment court on August 4th. But the lawmaker was quick to clarify that even this date is not final yet. Senate President Chis Escudero's proposed calendar showed the initial oath-taking of newly elected senator judges scheduled for July 29, and the trial would commence on July 30.
Ang pag-uusap namin nung ilang mga senador together with Senate President Chis Escudero na once we were able to organize ourselves, ayos na yung leadership, probably yung mga committees, maka-elect ka na rin ng mga chairperson, kahit hindi pa siguro membership, no? Kasi medyo it takes time also, no? But at least give it 2 days, session days.
In an interview with The Big Story, Senate Impeachment Court spokesperson Attorney Reginald Tonggol confirmed that there is no final date yet, but the Senate may convene as early as July 29, shortly after the President's SONA.
However, we know as well that a few of the senator judges as well is pushing for an earlier date, and I think the presiding officer is listening to all the senators and the propriety of convening the impeachment court by July 29 or just right after the State of the Nation address.
Tonggol emphasized that the Senate Impeachment Court is expected to push forward with the trial unless the Supreme Court issues a temporary restraining order.
That means that the Senate is still asserting its power to solely try and decide all matters regarding the impeachment. So that is the thing that's quite telling with the filing of the Senate. So it means that the Senate is still proceeding as it is, absent any temporary restraining order issued by the Supreme Court.
He added that public sentiment plays a key role in influencing senator judges and urged the public to keep engaging with their elected officials.
The senator judges are actually monitoring what the public sentiments would be at a certain period in time in the process of the impeachment. So that's why a public discourse and public pressure is very important in order to persuade the senator judges to decide in favor or against an action or a motion.
Justice Secretary Boying Rimulya has ordered the exhumation of 3 unclaimed bodies buried in Batangas. Authorities will conduct DNA testing to determine if the remains match any of the missing sabongeros. Here is a report.
At a public cemetery in Laurel, Batangas, police spent nearly 5 hours digging up a section where 3 unidentified bodies were buried. The exhumation was ordered by the Department of Justice to determine whether the remains were among the missing sabongeros.
Basta ngayon, we're reviewing the other people who were found that were buried. Pinalilibing ng pulisya pag wala nag-claim sa funeraria. So pinapa-exhume natin ngayon.
The bodies were buried in different years and reportedly recovered from various mountain areas in Laurel. According to the cemetery caretaker,
nire-report lang sa akin na kayo mag-ready maghuhay. Tapos pag pinakahukay, sasabihin na itadali na dito. Hindi ko naman na itatanong kung saan nakuha, kung saan basta tagatanggap lang ho.
the Batangas police have yet to release further details. Meanwhile, on the 6th day of the search at Taal Lake, divers from the Philippine Coast Guard completed scanning the first quadrant, the area pointed to by alias Totoy as the supposed dumping ground for the victims. Covering 13,000 square meters, the team relied heavily on a remote-operated vehicle, or ROV. While the ROV helped speed up scanning, only mud and trash have been retrieved so far. No substantial evidence related to the case has been found. Justice Secretary Rimulya also met with officials from the Japanese embassy to request assistance in the DNA testing for remains recovered from Taal Lake and other possible sites.
Although we have a very competent crime lab in a police crime lab and an NBI crime lab capable of looking at DNA, we're looking at the best possible persons who can help us also. Kasi this is not an easy task. We need all the help that we can get.
Signal Play is leveling up its storytelling game with the launch of new micro-drama series. Featured titles include My Father's Last Wish with Gerald Madrid and Don Chang, A Cure Called Love starring Dylan Menor and Micah Santos, and Baker's Heart led by Paulo Angeles. Cedric Juan headlines I See You with Dimples Romana and Joem Bascon, while Three Queens and a Baby stars Christian Bables and TJ Valderrama in a heartwarming drag family story. The micro-drama format offers fresh narratives told in vertical format, designed for mobile streaming. It is now available on the Signal Play app.
I believe the saying parang love conquers all, and kahit despite kung ano man situation mo or kung ano man nangyayari sa buhay mo, as long as you love the person, mamahalin mo kahit ano pang nangyayari sa'yo.
It's a mixture of TV, film, and theater actually. Kasi parang minsan kailangan sasabihin sa amin ni Direk Chris na ito yung cutting point natin, so kailangan ka end high.
Everyone is capable of being a parent. And lalo't higit wala sa kasarian ang pagiging magulang.
And that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we've given you the right start to your morning. Let's go ahead and make the day matter. My name is Gretchen Ho. We are One News, all sides, all the time.